Hi my loves, and welcome back to Love What Luck. I'm sorry I missed a week last week. I was away, I was skiing. I'm home now, and to be frank, I'm fucked. Nobody prepares you for the level of fitness and stamina that you need for when you go skiing. Like when I see those people skiing on Pinterest, skiing on TikTok, it all looks hee hee ha ha. Guys, I was exhausted there. I'm even more exhausted now. Put that on top of the emotional trauma that I suffered on the slopes. Before we went, right, I was doing lessons, I think I mentioned. I did a couple of lessons and I was feeling okay. I was a little bit scared, but I was feeling okay. The first day we get there, we go on like what I thought was a run. Turns out, just a little hill. It was just a little warm-up, wasn't even a green. Anyway, we do that, I'm warming up. I'm a little bit frightened, but I'm there, I'm in good spirits. 3 times I do that, I think. Yeah, do you know, I'm feeling pretty good now. They're like, right, come on then, let's go up the mountain. I'm in a big group of people, yeah. I'm like, okay, we're getting this big gondola. I saw up to the highest peak I've ever been at. I am literally on top of the world, it feels like. I could feel my anxiety getting higher and higher, right? Skiing is definitely for people who are mentally and physically fit. I discovered I'm neither of those things on this trip, okay? So we get to the top of the mountain. One of the boys says, there's bathrooms there. And I'm like, what? If I want to be sick? People could tell on my face, I could not hide how anxious I was. But obviously I was going non-verbal. I was just trying to deal with it. Anyway, we get to the top of the mountain. It's a really bad day. Our first day, I can barely see anything, okay? I overlook the top. I had a complete meltdown, and I really do not say that lightly. I should never have gone up that high, but obviously when you're with a group, I text Sophie, she was like, who is policing this? I'm like, nobody. There's nobody policing the slopes. Best believe I asked. When I was stuck on that mountain, at one point I said to Matt, I was like, where are the staff? Why isn't somebody passing me on a snowmobile and seeing me in despair and just taking me away? Guys, it was fucking torturous. That first day, I was like, it isn't for me. Skiing isn't for me, it's for a certain level of people. Some people clearly love it, not for me. And even before I went, I was watching these videos of people on the mountains completely frozen and just in a snow plough. And I was like, well, I'm nowhere near that bad. When I'm in that indoor centre, I'm not like that at all. So surely I'm going to be okay when I'm there. Put yourself up on those mountains. Fear Central. Guys, the mountain, I didn't make my way all the way down there, but I made it. I was told it wasn't even halfway. It was just before halfway. It was probably, the rest of the group obviously had to leave. It was probably 10 minutes of skiing. It took me 3 hours. 3 hours, many tears and a panic attack. It was mental. To be fair, I discovered after that the first bit was actually a red, because it was so steep, and then it went into a green, but I was so traumatised from that red, I literally went down a bit, and I was like, I hate this, I can't do this. Obviously my boyfriend was stuck with me. I was like, this is not for me, I can't do it. I was like, tears down my face. He was like, just turn. I was like, I can't. I was screaming. I had to walk down a part of it. I had to slide down part of it. At one point, I was like, God. At one point, I couldn't. I fell, obviously. I stood back up. I was trying to get my skis on, which I couldn't even do. And I fell from a standing up point, and I was just like, this is fucked now. And as I'm skiing, I'm telling myself, you can do this. You can do this. And then I turn the corner and be like, oh, you can't do this. I can't do it. I was on the floor at one point. This girl passed me and she was like, are you okay? Do you need any help? And I was like, no, just leave me. And I was just laying on the slopes. It was genuinely probably the worst day of my life. Or it was up there, and I'm not even being dramatic. It's up there with one of the worst things I've ever done. Anyway, that was day 1. I did get lessons throughout the week, and on the last day, I did a run. I did a green and a blue, and I wasn't scared. But the speed that I was going in, I was snow ploughing the whole way. My legs, I can barely walk because obviously I'm stuck. I'm going to insert a clip. I was stuck in one position, and I was saying to my boyfriend, I was like, oh, will you get a nice video? Will you get a nice video of me skiing? Because the views are stunning. absolutely unreal scenes. Like, I wish I'd had those Ray-Ban glasses to take it in, because, oh my God, just absolutely beautiful. And I was like, get a nice video of me skiing. Oh my God. As I was doing it, and then I didn't know he was videoing at that time, and then he passed me obviously videoing, and I was like, wow, he's got me on a really good run there. Like, that was a really good run. Like, I'm smashing it. Look back on that video, horrifying. I was horrified. I look so bad. I look so bad. I'm going at like 1 mile an hour, if that. But very fun time. Also going on a big trip like that. Like, the most, me and my friends, when we go away, the most of us, there's 4 of us. Like, when I go away for my birthday trip, there's 4 of us. And that's like the biggest group usually that I go away with. But this was just like a big group, a mixture of couples and guys. And it was really fun for me to be with so many different people, to be honest. I don't think I've ever been in a group with that many people at one time. I did spend one of the days being violently sick from 4 a.m. until 12 p.m. I had 8 hours of vomiting from a hangover, because also like the amount of drinking you do. Like, I'm an Aura Ring girly now, and every day I was waking up and it was like major signs of stress on your body. Readiness was at 30. And I was like up at 7 a.m. ready to go up the slopes again. I was basically non-verbal to my friends. Like, they were messaging me. I was taking like days to respond. And I was like, I am sorry. This is the most intense trip I've ever been on. Sometimes I'd just be sending them selfies of me like with my mouth open like this. I was like, I am open mouth breathing at all times because I cannot get enough air into my lungs. Like, my body was struggling, and it still is, to be fair. But we're fighting through this week. Okay, right, let's go straight into this week's story. I'm in a bit of a situation, and I don't know if I'm overthinking it or if this is actually a red flag. So I've been seeing this guy for about 4 months. It started pretty casually, but we've been spending a lot of time together lately. We stay at each other's places all the time, go out with each other's friends and all that stuff. The confusing part is that he still talks about his ex a lot. Not in a I want her back way, but she comes up in stories constantly. Oh, hate this, by the way. Hate this, all being there. Like, if we're talking about a restaurant, he'll say, oh, my ex and I used to go there. Or if we're watching a movie, he'll say, my ex loved this. That's a no from me, but we'll come back to that. Do you think I care if your ex loved this fucking film? Shut up and let me watch it. Right. I asked him about it once, and he said they broke up over a year ago and he's definitely over it. But sometimes I can't tell if he's actually moved on or if I'm just kind of filling space until he figures his life out. The thing is, when we're together, it feels really good. He's kind, he makes time for me, and he talks about future plans like trips we should take. I just don't know if I'm ignoring something obvious. This is actually a hard one, guys, and let us know what you think as well, because I do think it's very natural when you first start seeing somebody. I don't know why, but I think when you first start seeing somebody, ex talk is quite high. I think it just comes up naturally because you're getting to know a person, and some people might never mention their ex, which honestly I also think is a red flag. But naturally, sometimes you can be like, oh yeah, I went there with... Like, they probably say in their stories that they went as many places with friends, but you are not going to care about that. You're only going to care about it if there's another female involved. If he says, I went there with my friend Hannah, you're going to be like, ding ding. Whereas he's like, I went there with my friend Aaron, you're not going to give a shit. So obviously you're going to be more tuned to it. But I do think it's natural when you get with somebody that you're getting to know them, they're sharing stories about their past, places they've been, and naturally the ex is going to come up. And I do actually think if the ex doesn't come up, I think, this might be a hot take, I think that's more of a red flag. And I'll tell you for why. Because there have been times when I've been on a date and I would think to myself, if this man mentions anything about my last relationship where I have to talk about it, I'm going to burst into tears in his face. That's a red flag. That is me clearly should never have been on that date. Yeah. I think if you can't even mention an ex, tread carefully there. For me, that means like the feelings are very fresh. If you can talk about an ex, just like, yeah, we went there, you know, as if it's just a fact. And also sometimes I think is people being open and honest. They don't want to say, oh yeah, I went to Indonesia before. They want to be honest with you and say that they went with their ex, like in case it comes up later. So I think the balance is right there. However, do we need to know what your ex liked? No. Do we need to know what your ex did in bed with you? No. Do we need to know about your ex's family, about your ex's friends? No, I don't think. This is where I think the line is. I think if somebody's talking about their ex personally as a person and they're telling you things like, oh, my ex used to love having chocolate for breakfast, or my ex used to love Beyonce, basically reading off things about me. Like, that I don't care to know. I actually couldn't give two shits, and it's just irrelevant information. And that is when you're going to feel like somebody isn't over the person, or you're going to feel like they're comparing you to them. That's not nice. But I think if they're just talking about past experiences that include them, fine. And I also think it's fine if they like, oh, my ex always used to argue about me going out forever. That's okay. That's like something that could maybe even help your relationship, you know? You can understand like what they used to like, what they didn't used to like and stuff. But I think there's a fine balance. I think with that, just like see how you go. It's very difficult because part of you is like, you feel like you've got a gut feeling. But there's that quote that I shared actually ages ago now, but it's still stuck with me, where that girl said that nobody ever experiences reality. You experience your perception of it, and you experience your insecurities and stuff. So if you were insecure, or if you were feeling like a certain way, like, oh, maybe this guy isn't over his ex, you're going to look for those things and you're going to take them in differently than what they actually are, you know? So I think for those types of situations, the best thing is to really try and have an open mind. And if it gets to a point where you're uncomfortable, you are well within your rights to just say, oh, look, I appreciate that you're being open and honest with me, but I'd feel better if we didn't talk about your ex so much. I don't need to talk about my ex, and I feel like I would feel more comfortable if she came up less. And that's probably a big telltale sign, to be fair. If he's like, oh, okay, yeah, fair enough, and he takes her on board, great. But if he's like, no, I simply must talk about my ex-girlfriend, red flag. Oh, I have got some ex news actually for me this week. When I was away, I had a message from one of my friends who I used to work with, and obviously I was out drinking. So basically, it was only when I got back yesterday, I was like, oh, I'm sure she messaged me. So anyway, so I opened the message 5 days later, and I was like, yeah, I'm sure she texted me. She sent me a message for a collection because they work together. She works with my ex. For a collection because he's getting married next week. I was like, thank God I didn't open that 10 wines deep, by the way. It's just like a really weird thing, I think, when you find out that your ex is like moving on to the next stage of their life when you haven't. To be clear, couldn't give two shits what he does with his life in the nicest possible way. I'm actually very happy for him. Don't know if I said the story the other day where I typed somebody's name in on WhatsApp with the same letters, and his WhatsApp came up and I saw the picture of him with his girlfriend. I was like, oh, they look so happy together, super happy for them. Okay, so that's a separate thing. But obviously, you just become self-involved when you hear something like that. Like I sent it to my friend, she was like, oh, beat us both down the aisle. I'm like, yeah, exactly. And then I was like, fuck, my boyfriend before him, my ex before him, on his second child. And I'm like, damn. Like, that's why I think you can't help but compare. And then I was like, oh my God, am I like, you know, when you have a guy that breaks up with like a perfectly good person, like if a guy breaks up with your friend, yeah, and you'll say to them like, if they're not going to be happy with you, they won't be happy with anyone, like they'll never settle down, and you say all this stuff. Yesterday I was like, is this play about me? Like, is this me? Because I broke up with those people and the next person they've got with, this actually happened with 3 of my partners, where the next person they've got with, they've like married and had kids. And then obviously you just can't help but look at yourself and be like, wow, I've actually just got back with an ex-boyfriend. So that was fun. That was fun on my first day back in a very, very fragile state after this holiday, as you can imagine. Although I haven't got holiday blues, you know, like sometimes I really, really struggle with holiday blues. I haven't actually got them this time. Key for me is coming back on a weekend. Normally I come back, like I've been known to get back from a holiday and go into work that same day. No wonder I was literally like in the absolute pits of despair Do you know what I mean? Coming from a plane and driving straight into the office. Like, what was I thinking? Coming back on a weekend and having some time to recoup. Really good. In other news, I have started to watch Love Story. I know I'm a little bit late to the party, but Lord knows why, because it is right up my street. I loved it from the first scene. Her hair, phenomenal. Her big Birkin, phenomenal. Him, phenomenal. Not sure when I started to find Caucasian men with dark hair and dark eyes this attractive. Something's happening in me with the whole Jacob Elordi. Now this guy, phenomenal. He's flying a plane. Are you joking? Hot. Although it did remind me, I don't know if I've ever said this story, but I was on a dating app before and I was talking to a pilot. I was like, ooh, cute, hot pilot. And I really can't remember if I said the story, but for some reason I was thinking about it last night when I saw him in the plane. I was like, it's just like a bit of a joke now, obviously, like talking to a pilot, whatever. He left me the most harrowing voice note I've ever heard. It was blood curdling. He was like, hi. That was the tone. Hi. Firstly, why you send me a voice note this early? I don't need it. I actually don't need it. And I don't know if this is me being in my 30s, but if I am messaging somebody that I'm interested in, a voice note for me is very personal. It's very personal. I'm not comfortable with hearing your voice, and I'm not comfortable with you hearing mine until there's like a level of connection there. That's very millennial of me to say, I'm sure, but I can't handle it. I can't handle a voice note too soon, and for good reason, because I heard this man's voice. I don't even think I finished the voice note. I had to turn it off. It made me sick to my stomach. He was like, hi, what are you doing this weekend then? Yeah, I'm not working this weekend, so we're gonna go out for some drinkies. Oh. As soon as the word drinkies came out of his mouth, it was game over. It was game over. I had to shut it down immediately. Never spoke to him again. I cannot be with somebody that says, should we go for drinkies? In a very serious manner before there's any type of bond established where I can at least laugh at you. Anyway, segue. Love Story. Just love the whole vibes. Literally was watching her. She works for Calvin Klein. Immediately I'm like on the Calvin Klein website. Don't think I've bought anything from Calvin Klein other than underwear, obviously, for ages. I bought a bag. I bought a shoulder bag. I was like, she's not even wearing a Calvin Klein shoulder bag and the thing, but I was just like, do you know what? I need something. I need this hit because I'm obsessed with Carolyn Bassett. Not to be confused with Carol Baskin from Tiger King. Anyway, obsessed with them both. I'm only on episode 3, I think. So stay tuned. Probably the way I'm feeling this week, probably the next time I speak to you, I pretty much have finished the whole thing. But yeah, my takeaway so far from it is I love, and I know I've spoken about this before, but I just love that inexplicable thing where you can meet somebody and you can know, even just by looking at them, that there's a connection there. And you can have that with romantic relationships and with friendships. And oh my God, it gets me so excited to even talk about it. Just that, it's just the chemistry of something that you can feel. Like, he's out of the car and she gets out and she walks and they lock eyes, and it's not a romanticized thing for a film, this. I know that is a very real thing where you can be with somebody or see somebody and just like, you just know that something is there. It doesn't even have to mean like that you're going to get married or like love at first sight. It doesn't even mean that. It just means that like you just know that something is going to happen with you two. For like you are going to be part of each other's stories in some capacity, and oh my God, just lap that shit right up. Absolutely lap it up. Oh, do you know what I did watch as well the other day? Is 13 Going on 30. This film was my absolute favourite film. Me and Lucy used to watch this over and over again. We were just obsessed with it. And I haven't been able to watch it for so long, but Lucy texted me the other day saying it was on Amazon Prime. I was so in my feels with it. Watching it as an adult, again, in a very fragile post-holiday state, I cried a fair bit throughout it. And there's actually a trend on TikTok at the minute where people say like their goals when they're younger is like get a really successful career, get married, live in X city or whatever, and they're good goals, but they're probably like a little bit superficial, and then it like flips to something happening, and then their goals become like stay healthy, look after myself, have a good relationship with my parents, stay in touch with my friends, and they like all the things that actually really matter in life. Oh, it's too much for me. It was too much for me when she goes back to her parents and she says to her mother, I'm not okay. I'm in my luteal phase, guys. When she goes to her mother and she says, sorry, I missed last Christmas. I'm like, cut the cameras because I can't friggin' handle it. And I definitely feel like I've been in that stage of my life for a little while now where I've realised that actually, it's not to say that the goals that I used to have don't matter anymore, but I definitely think there's a shift when you get older and you get in your 30s. There's definitely a shift where you're just like, do you know what? The things that make me happiest now are having my friends around me, having phone calls with my friends, seeing my family, having a job that doesn't make me hate my life, trying to be less stressful, having a slow morning. Like, the things that are important to you really, really change. And yeah, I'm definitely in that phase. Maybe that could be our question of the week this week that I'll put on Instagram. I'm at Sadie Maltby. And I'll put the question of the week on there is like, what goals have changed for you? Or like, what's most important to you now that you're older? Because yeah, I think it's really interesting and I think it's really nice. So basically, yeah, in 13 going on 30, if you haven't seen it, by the way, immediately go and watch it. I can only assume you've seen it. I can only assume. But if you haven't, you're in for the best treat of your life. And go and watch it. But like, her goals when she was younger was to like work for this magazine and be like one of the cool girls and all this stuff. And then she gets it all, and all she actually wants is to be with her childhood sweetheart, Mark Ruffalo. By the way, I love Mark Ruffalo as well. But I think I love Mark Ruffalo's characters more than him. But because he plays such lovely characters in my favourite films, like he plays the guy in Just Like Heaven as well, which I absolutely love. Anyway, talking a lot about film and TV this week. Sorry about that. I saw a clip this week from Catherine Ryan on We Need to Talk, which is Paul Brunson's podcast. I'll share the clip because it was so good if you haven't seen it. And she said that when she was debating leaving her marriage, her friend said to her, it's like you're playing at a slot machine and you put a bit in and you're winning little bits out over the time that you're playing, and you were worried that if you leave now, somebody else is going to come and they're going to hit the jackpot. But that is not the case. And I just thought it was such a good analogy. And she was basically saying, like, sometimes you stay in relationships because you've put in the investment, you've put in the time. She said, like, that she was like, I felt like if I left, somebody else would come and have this great guy, and I'd find out that the problem was me, and I would be by myself for the rest of my life. And she was like, that was absolutely not the case. Like, the way that your partner is, that is them. I was thinking then about a question, like, if you only had a year left to live, would you stay with the same person? And it should be an easy, like, yeah, of course, but I just don't think it is, because people stay in relationships that they probably know deep down are not right, but they stay with them because they're scared of being by themselves, which is completely normal, yeah? But I just thought thinking about that analogy is great, and I think if you really think about that question, like, if you knew that you only had a year left to live, like, would you spend it with that person, and would you just think, fuck, I've only got a year, like, I need to go and see what else is out there? Because I think lots of time people stay in relationships as well because they've been with them for such a long amount of time, and because also they think they've got time. Like, I had an ex reach out to me before, I don't know if I've mentioned this, and because he messaged me on Instagram, so then obviously I did a deep dive. I'm deja vu. I literally might have said the story last time, sorry. But anyway, I basically found out that he was like dating a girl on and off for 4 years. And I'm just like, why are you wasting your time and wasting her time with somebody for like 4 years, knowing that you've like quote unquote still got feelings for me, apparently. I mean, obviously not for the whole 4 years, but like ultimately that you're not super happy and you don't feel like she's the one or whatever. 4 years. There's no way you would do that if you got told, look, you've only got a year left to live. just wouldn't like keep it going. So it's a pause for thought for us this week, guys. And I think you can apply that even for jobs, friendships, situations, where you live. Like if you knew that you didn't have long left, sorry this is so morbid by the way, but if you really didn't know how much longer you'd have left, which we don't, by the way, that's the catch, gotcha. That's the reality. Gotcha. You wouldn't waste it doing what you're doing. So yeah, it's just a little bit of a motivation for us, I think. It's a bit of motivation for us this week. The life is too short. And let's just all quit our jobs and live where we want to live and be with who we want to be with. I've started to follow this TikTok account about this woman called Veronica, and it's just all these doodles and online like sketches of being in like toxic workplaces. And Veronica doesn't give a shit, and I'm like, yes, Veronica, like let's all be a little bit like Veronica this week and let's just go after what we want. I'm just going to pre-warn you, for those that listen to me every week, okay? My 35th birthday is looming, and these are the types of thoughts that are already coming into my head. Like, your gal in the background is on a small journey, and my 25th birthday was bad. My 35th isn't going to be as bad because I have the tools now to support myself, but the thoughts are still there. Okay. Right, we have another story this week. She says, "Hi Sadie, I met my boyfriend in the weirdest way, which I thought you might appreciate. We actually matched on a dating app about 3 years ago, but never ended up meeting. The conversation just kind of fizzled out. Fast forward to last year, I'm at a friend's birthday party and start talking to this guy I'd never met before. About halfway through the conversation, he suddenly goes, 'Wait, have we matched before?' Turns out we had, years earlier. It's given invisible string theory, and we know how much I love those stories. We finally went on that first date the next week, and now we always joke that the timing just had to be right. 100%. 100% that is invisible string theory, where you two are always destined to meet, but it had to be the right time, because you absolutely do need timing on your side. This happened actually, I remember being out at a bar before, and I mean, they're not together, so not quite. But I remember being out at a bar with my friend who I used to work with, and she started talking to this guy, and then they were like, "Oh, wait, haven't we went on a date?" It blew my mind, because I was like, how can you not remember straight away that you actually went on a date? And she was like, it's probably 10 years ago. And then I was thinking about it, and I was like, would I actually be able to recognise somebody that I went on a date with 10 years ago, that I haven't gone on social media, like that I obviously haven't seen since? And I was like, maybe I wouldn't. It's just like such a weird thing, isn't it? I actually saw another story on TikTok of a girl where she kept seeing green hats everywhere. And she made a video on her phone, and she was like, I don't know what this means, but I know it's going to mean something in the future. The green hat theory. And she kept like videoing them wherever she was. And she was like, this is going to mean something like one day. And then she's on a night out. She looks across, she locks eyes with a gorgeous guy in a green hat, who later becomes her boyfriend. And on the green hat, she took a picture and it said, someday. Is that not amazing? I just friggin' love it. I just love a love story, guys. So if you've got any to share, then as always, please email them to sadie@loveoutluck.com or send me a DM at Sadie Maltby @loveoutluck. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. So happy to be back. I can't wait to be back to full energy. I looked at my Aura ring this morning and it said, you'll get through it. You'll get through it. Is that the motivation that I need today? Absolutely it's not. Thank you so much for listening. Please remember to subscribe, follow, give me a like, share the stories, share the episodes, all of that. Let me know what you think, and I'll speak to you next week.